So, I've been dating my girlfriend for almost a year now, and last month we moved in together. Maybe that's kind of fast, I don't know. My parents sure thought it was. But honestly, everything was great in the beginning. We get along really nice, and we've never had more than just a brief argument. But then she started whistling. It's so dumb, I know, but she's always whistling this weird song, and it gets on my nerves. My mom kept telling me that once you move in with someone, you discover all of their quirks that they've been hiding from you. And it's not like I didn't expect that to be true, but for some reason, this is just an ongoing issue with us, and I really don't know what to do about it. At first, I would just hear her whistling when she was showering. It was kind of cute, like her own little bathroom theme song. I didn't recognize that melody, but it was very distinct. I can mimic it from memory if I want to. In fact, sometimes it gets stuck in my head, and it drives me a little crazy. You know that type of melody that I'm talking about. After a week or so, I asked her what that song was, and she just laughed. I'm wondering if maybe she came up with it on her own, something that she does absent-mindedly, especially once she started doing it even more. Like, I would just be sitting around reading a book, and she would be on the computer, and she would just start whistling. I tried to ignore it, and I seriously feel like a dick for being so grumpy about it. I know she's not doing it to annoy me, but she just goes on, and it would pull my attention away from whatever I was doing. So I finally said something to her a few nights ago. I was going over some legal documents for work, and she just starts whistling like crazy, on and on. I'm just trying to block it out, but it's seriously excessive. Like, I know you guys are thinking that I'm overreacting, but it felt like she was whistling right into my ear, and that just frayed at the last bit of patience that I had left. As calmly and nicely as I could, I called out to her and asked her to quiet down, but she didn't reply. I asked her again, and she still didn't reply. So I left the bedroom and found her in the living room watching a movie. She wasn't whistling anymore, and for some reason that really irked me. It felt like she was just messing with me. She just looked over at me like she didn't know what my deal was. So I asked her if she could stop whistling so much, and she told me she wasn't whistling. Now, I get that maybe she doesn't realize she's doing it. Like, some people have these habits that they don't realize they're doing unless they point it out or someone else does. But no one whistles that much and doesn't notice. It's not like her to mess with me like that, and I don't know what she's trying to get out of this. I thought maybe she was just teasing me or playing some kind of joke, but she had to have seen how annoyed I was. I asked her again to just not whistle so loudly, and no response. There was this tension in the room, and it felt like it was our first fight ever since we moved in together. Even though she didn't whistle the rest of that night, I couldn't focus on my work because I was so upset about that confrontation. Then, of course, the next night she started whistling again. I hear her when she comes home from work, and so I heard her coming in, and then the whistling started, going on for at least an hour. I didn't want or need another confrontation or a fight, so I just hung out in the bedroom and listened to my girlfriend move around the house for a while. I started feeling like I was blowing things out of proportion, but honestly, how hard is it to not whistle all the time? It was no big deal when it was now and then, but I feel like she whistles more than she talks now. I'm sitting in the room thinking about that, and that's probably why I was so worked up when I finally came back down. She was cooking dinner, which is sweet, but she was still whistling. So I said softly, "Hey honey, maybe we should put on some music instead so you don't have to fill in the silence with whistling." I tried to play it off like it was a joke, but I knew she'd probably see through it and get annoyed again. And I was right. She didn't even face me. She just huffed and kept on cooking. A minute later, I told her I was sorry about the other night, but that whistling just strikes my ear wrong. And if she could try not to whistle so much and so loudly, I would appreciate it, and it would make my life much easier. That sounded fair to me. I know maybe to some of you that just seems controlling and nitpicky, but it really was bothering me a lot. You know, I'm sure you understand. Everyone has their own thing that bothers them, you know. Like for my girlfriend, it's chewing noises. So I try not to chew loudly at the table because it bothers her. So why can't she just do the same for me and stop whistling sometimes? But she totally freaked out. She turned around and told me she wasn't whistling and she didn't know what my problem was. At this point, I don't get why she was doing this. It obviously wasn't funny to either of us, and she seemed genuinely upset, so I don't know why she kept provoking me. I asked her what her deal was, why she was so defensive about the stupid whistling, and she told me to shut up. She told me she was sick of talking about it, like I was the one not being reasonable. Now, I never get mad at my girlfriend, but I just snapped. I told her to stop whistling before I lost my mind, so she called me crazy, just because I was getting a little upset. And somehow that was all I could take. I grabbed one of my cast iron pans from the stove, and I swung it at her head as hard as I could. She fell over and smashed her head on the counter. But before she fell, I swung the pan again and hit her. I think I hit her in total maybe 3 or 4 times. I don't really remember. But I feel terrible. There was blood everywhere, and her jaw might be broken. No, not maybe, it's for sure broken. I couldn't believe myself. I didn't know how I lost my temper like that. I don't know how we can get past this. I'm so ashamed for letting things get physical, regardless of how much she might have been provoking me or annoying me with that whistling. But here's the kicker. She's still whistling. I asked her nicely to please stop, but now she won't even pause. For 2 days, she's just been lying on the kitchen floor with her eyes rolled back into her head and her mouth hanging open, just marinating in her congealed blood, and she's still fucking whistling. I don't know what to do. I don't want to break up with her, but this is just too much. I just need her to shut up. Just shut up. Just shut up. Hey friends, how do you like this story? Has anything creepy ever happened with you and your significant other? Leave a comment below, and remember to like my video and subscribe to my channel. And hit the bell icon if you want to stay notified and be on top of all my future postings. That's it for now. Until next time, Darke and Dreadly out.